we've heard already, money is abundant, also for bad reasons, as Paula has said, because of COVID, but there's money, but it comes with procedures. It comes with terms of references. It comes with reform strings attached. And so perhaps the better question is then not how to spend it, but how to get access to it. And we heard the example of Jadrolinia. So we have two excellent speakers for that. First of all, we have Edita Dransekate, who's the coordinator for the Clean Energy for EU Islands initiative. She's been an energy transition advocate throughout her 15-year European Commission experience in energy, cohesion policy, and environment sectors. And you know, from the first line, I can say she's doing a great job. And now, second, we have Kristina Celic, who's Director General at the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Energy of Croatia. And she's a Doctor of Technical Sciences in the field of electrical engineering with more than 30 years of experience in the energy sector. And 20 years she worked for the Conchar Group, which is a big holding, as a project manager and business director. And so she's also been working in the ministry in the energy department as strategic and legal, and she participated as a member of the working group for the energy chapter in the pre-accession negotiation. So it's a wealth of experience we have around the table here, combined almost half a century. So it is with great respect we leave the floor to you, Edita and Kristina, and we're very keen to hear your insights. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jan, for introducing and for giving such a nice description of the experiences. And actually, I'm very happy to start where the previous panel left. Of course, every time we start to discuss the clean energy transition, it's lots of interest around the funding and financing. And let me just start from giving you a very short context in which our interventions come in. Today, we've heard already a few times mentioned Memorandum of Understanding of Split. And it's indeed a very important milestone in advancing clean energy on the islands, but it's actually very important from the sense that here Commission and Member States agreed to work together in advancing the decarbonization of islands, because we really understood also from the first phase of the Clean Energy of EU Islands initiative that the same as was also in discussions today, that the challenges can only be solved if islands, national authorities, the Commission and other relevant stakeholders work together. So basically the Memorandum of Understanding set up a long-term framework for this cooperation, and this is comprising high-level group for strategic guidance, its expert working groups for different common priority areas, and the Secretariat, which is supporting us in our activities. And when we started earlier this year to discuss the agenda of work for 2021, we agreed with member states and island representatives to kick off our common work from the expert meeting on finance. The main reason behind it actually was, which was already heard also a few times in the panel before, it's because it's a very high time for negotiations and programming of many EU funding instruments and programs. And we still wanted to catch this train and to discuss together with all relevant experts at national governments, regional authorities, islands, and Commission services, and to see how islands' energy transition needs and specificities could be better reflected in the European and national investment programs, and actually how to help islands to access the funding which is available for green recovery and clean energy transition across Europe. And the Split Memorandum of Understanding Working Group on Financing met just 4 weeks ago in 2 dedicated working sessions which were devoted for the EU funding instruments and also for the national and regional schemes and incentives for clean energy transition. Given that participation limits were a bit imposed by a working format, we agreed to report the main conclusions of the working group meeting to the Islands Forum, and this is what I'm going to try to summarize in the next 7 minutes or so. So basically, as we heard today, and it was really confirmed during the working meeting that the money or the funds is not really a problem. And with green energy and Green Deal being at the center of EU recovery and growth agenda, indeed, it's lots of funds being mobilized for climate and energy investment across Europe. And in addition to traditional cohesion and regional funds, you have heard also about just transition mechanism, which is really devoted for the most greenhouse emission intensive regions. And also, of course, recovery and resilience fund to boost the green recovery and transition of all territories and regions in Europe. What islands are really lacking actually is business models to involve private stakeholders and private financing, especially when it goes beyond the energy production. And as regards national and regional incentives and initiatives, we looked at a number of examples, very concrete examples from Greek, Spanish, and Italian islands. And there we see the models varying from subsidies, from tariff and tax incentives, to compulsory targets for large companies, or some innovations such as tourist landing tax with a dedicated objective to finance decarbonization. What was also very interesting to see that prosumers and community financing are also finding their way in some of the islands, and here more we spoke about Mallorca's examples. But of course, the main question always came up, how to make sure that islands actually can access the funding. And this is probably the topic which can take lots of different meetings, webinars, and conferences to discuss. But also, as our ferry representative said, that it's very important also to have the maybe more like a project to project or authority to authority or company to company contacts and to learn from each other. So first point for advice or for something which came from the working group is that strategic planning is a must. That EU funding for clean energy transition is very, very much linked to the priorities and measures defined in the national energy and climate plans, which are adopted by the national governments. And here we were kind of looking at one milestone which is coming. The reviews of national energy and climate plans are approaching in a couple of years. Mainly, they will be really comprehensive reviews to align the plans with the upgraded 55 target. But also, we saw this as a very good opportunity for national authorities to reflect on important potential of islands to contribute to those upgraded decarbonization targets. But also, this is an opportunity for the islands to come up and propose with very concrete regulatory and investment measures which are necessary to help them to advance the transition. Another point which we discussed a lot was coordination and integrated approach. Indeed, transition initiatives can benefit from very different funding streams during the project lifetime, and it's very important to steer the transition so that the funding opportunities can be invoked, the right funding opportunities can be invoked at the right time of project maturity. And in this regard, we kind of looked at very interesting pilot initiative presented by Greece, where it's called GRECO, and where Greece is really trying to pull together very different sources of funding for an integrated green transition agenda, also combining energy, waste, tourism, and covering several of Greek island regions. The other point, which was always coming up, and I may be even quite short here because capacity building and technical assistance was discussed a lot in the previous channels. But of course, we understand that islands really need a hand in navigating through those multiple financing sources and instruments. And also, they really look for support in developing a pipeline of good projects, which would be technically feasible, economically sustainable, and also socially acceptable on the islands. And you have already heard about the Clean Energy for Your Islands initiative's technical assistance, or NESO, but I absolutely wanted to remind, and this came up in our working group quite visibly, that 4% of all national and regional cohesion policy envelopes are specifically earmarked for technical support. And this is a large amount of money. So this is exactly what needs to be used for awareness raising, for capacity building of all beneficiaries, for learning how to do the applications, and for the project development support. And maybe I also will mention one interesting opportunity which exists and which will be developed further. It's our dedicated transition financing corner, which is available on the EU Islands website. And there you can really learn about financing of clean energy transition projects on the island. And those projects kind of are of very different forms and sizes. And also we are happy because usually we try to give examples from, like live examples from a number of EU islands to learn from the experiences directly. Another point which is absolutely essential and which we really discussed a lot is a partnership principle. The practice has shown that when there is a real partnership between all relevant stakeholders, and including island communities, the authorities and energy incumbents, the project realization rates are much higher. And it's very important to early involve, ideally from the transition agenda development or from project planning, all those stakeholders, because this is increasing ownership and acceptance, avoids conflict, and very much facilitates the further financing of the projects. And this also concerns cooperation between islands themselves and aggregation of group of islands, in particular in case of very small islands. Because these joint projects can really help both in pooling the scarce resources on the small islands, but also in making their joint projects more attractive for potential investors and for their funding instruments. And last but not least, and this was coming up, let's say, in our discussions every time when someone intervened, was basically the need for enabling regulatory environment. Availability of structured and accessible funding is important, but certainly not sufficient condition for a major rollout of clean energy transition projects on islands. And really, we've seen from examples that overregulation, legal restrictions, slow and complex administrative procedures may significantly slow down or even block renewable energy development. We have seen concrete examples of generous tariff schemes to promote renewables on islands, which actually never took up due to very restrictive spatial planning regulation, virtually excluding any wind or solar development. And on the other hand, we also see that lack of regulation in some areas, such as in particular new innovative models as energy communities or producing consumers, also can become an obstacle for advancing energy transition. So let me finish with maybe very brief 3 kind of next steps. So the financing corner, or what we call financing toolkit for islands, will be updated to include new instruments and examples. And this is work carried out, as mentioned by Jan, by the Island Secretariat. And we are really looking also through our Memorandum of Split network for the best practices. We are collecting good examples of national and regional financing schemes to build up our knowledge base so we can share it later on with all our islands community. And we will go, of course, much further in terms of inventory of legal and regulatory practices. And for this work to support the work done by the EU Island Secretariat, we will be organizing a very dedicated working group meeting under the Memorandum of Split on the legal and regulatory issues early in the autumn, and we will specifically seek to look at the solutions and practical examples on how to accommodate and combine different land use on islands, among other things. So I'll probably stop it there. We had really first and very intense discussions, and we continue our work together with islands and member states. And on this, I'm kind of passing the floor to Christina, who actually will give a bit of more, let's say, island and national or another country which has extremely big amount of islands and knows what does it mean to decarbonize the islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina and Edita. And Christina, over to you immediately. We will go 10 minutes over time. Please bear with us. I think Christina, who's been in the private and the public sector, has a lot to tell us. So we'll listen to her, and then we'll wrap up for the morning and have the lunch break. But Christina, please, over to you.
Well, thank you very much for invitation, and I will be very brief in this case, and I'm open to your questions. Maybe it will be the better. So, just to mention, we are now Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development. It is according our new policies and grid agenda. So we are today within Ministry as a Directorate for Energy, but we are mainly thinking and acting as a body for sustainable development in Croatia. What I would like first to congratulate the Secretariat for starting the second phase of this important initiative. As you know, during Croatian presidency, it was given very important to support the clean energy in the island scene, particularly in creating the Split Memorandum. So we are very interested for this topic, and we are also the country which has its own law on islands as you know, specific topic what we would like to have. We have a public infrastructure very good developed on the islands, but it needs to be more investment on islands, particularly in these fields of energy, waste, water management, and transport. There's 4 areas, all comprehensive, all really very demanding in the new energy green transition. So what is prerequisite to have all these projects on that we are looking for? Means better connection, better transport, new fuel for our maritime fleet, new and better infrastructure for security of supply of electricity, because we know nowadays that the electricity will be main, let's say, no fuel, but main power which will support the all activities, human activities on the islands. So electrical vehicles which we are looking for need to be also supply new production capacities on the islands, which means that we need to have more production for self-consumption on the roof to avoid this problem of spatial planning. Also to increase and to give answers to ways how to proceed with it, how to have better and cleaner environment. So there is a lot of topics that we are dealing in ministry with, and what we would like to see, what we need to have for that is mature legislation framework. Now we are doing that. We have a really ambitious target in our national plan, energy and climate plan. We would like to see up to 30 and 36.6 renewables in all consumption in Croatia. Also, we have a target of 32.5% of reduction in energy, increasing energy efficiency. So there are a lot of efforts and a lot of money we need to put in this energy transition. Still, we are now also calculating new targets, and we would like to fit in minus 55 targets. So this is what we are doing here within the ministry, but also we need the great potential for pilot projects, for something new, for intersector cooperation is and for something for advanced projects is on the islands. Now there are a lot of private investors that mainly our electro utility, which is planning to build power plants, and there are also projects which are mature. Now we are building, there is on the island of Vis, there is one 3.5 megawatts solar installation, and on the island of Sresta in the building phase is 6 megawatts. Those projects, among others which are in preparation, will help islands to be self-sufficient, but also during winter they can, let's say, export electricity to mainland. So because of that, we put other efforts to connect. Our islands is connect with the old-fashioned, let's say, type of cables, which are also not so environmental friendly if something occur. So we put in our plan for recovery and resilience that type of connection. Undersea connection the cables for retrofit this and for better connection and better secure of supply, not only for the import to electricity to islands, but also to export from islands electricity in the coming years. This is maybe. Also to say something about initiative on the energy communities. Our NGOs, let's say, but they made a great job during producing strategy for the islands, working with Secretariat on that topics. And they made some initiative on new cooperatives, also production of electricity on the islands. So this is movement which we need, that the citizen and the islanders make their wishes, and we are here to support them with our technical knowledge on projects, on concrete projects. Also, we had fund for environment protection. We could go with give some national financing to make these projects documentation for the projects, and to apply for larger, let's say, larger investments on that level where we have a public sector, local municipalities. So I think that in the very short time we will have mature framework for electricity also, and for this which is potential for which will be potential for aggregators, for newcomers to this market. And we will also support and we are going to support particularly these self-consumptions for citizens on the islands, but wider on the mainland also. So this is, in short, this is our plans. And as I mentioned, we are really, we would like to say that we are very happy with this initiative. We are looking for Secretariat, we are looking for exchanging knowledge projects, as Edita mentioned, and we are here to support all activities in this way.
Thank you very much, Christina, and both of you, Edita and Christina. I wish we had more time to delve into these issues, because I feel we could have gone even further with the excellent insights you gave, and the very valuable comments. But I think we need to wrap it up here for this morning. It's almost 12:30, and so we're gonna wrap up. It's time for a break. Unfortunately for us, not at on a terrace at the seaside, but here in the center of Brussels. But You can also use your time networking and visiting the exhibitor space. We have about 20 initiatives, horizon projects, islands, technology providers who are presenting themselves. And so you can get inspiration there, get in contact directly with them and so forth. So please visit the area. It's worth the detour. Now, we're going to break now for half an hour that is left. At 1 o'clock, we are back here. This morning has been full of insights and interesting perspectives. And we had a lot of Croatia, which we value because Croatia has been very supportive and very active and taken the lead in pushing for the island initiatives, and we are grateful for that. And we've had very interesting insights from them. We also had quite a bit of the north, and in the afternoon it will shift more to the Iberian Peninsula with Portuguese and Spanish perspectives. So you see, we cover the whole of the EU in terms of islands, and we bring on board all the perspectives. So see you in half an hour. Same link.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, and have a good lunch break. Thank you.